Hi everyone. Yes, well, today's video, what I plan to do, is I'm going to be doing a sort of response video to my good pal Nolsey, because of a video he did last night on his TF Nolsey channel talking about Star Wars and The Mandalorian. And I've just finished watching the whole video, and that's really good. It was really good, and it's made me think about, you know, about my perception of Star Wars and how I'm, and me being, a pretty much lifelong fan. I decided, I want to do a video talking about, what Star Wars has done for me and how I feel about Disney's work with it. Leads up to The Mandalorian, really. So, so I'm going to start at my beginning. So, I was a 90s kid, and I actually was first introduced properly to Star Wars in 1997 when the original trilogy was re-released theatrically with the special editions. So the first thing I'd really seen, the only thing I'd seen that I knew of Star Wars before was on the Power Rangers the movie VHS. There was a trailer for the last time the original versions of the first trilogy, the original trilogy, the last time that they were going to be released on home video, and that was 1995, and I was only 5 years old at the time. I do remember asking my mum questions about Star Wars and talking to my family who had grown up with it. But then in 1997, when the when the special editions of the original trilogy were being released, that's when I got into it properly, because I started to see the Kenner toy adverts on Saturday mornings on TV. For all these for the new toys that were coming out to promote the special edition trilogy, and the first one of the movies I actually watched all the way through was The Empire Strikes Back, the second movie, because I remember when I asked my mum if we had Star Wars on video, she said that we did. We definitely had the first one and the second one as well, so both episode 4 and 5. But when she went to the video was in an old set of drawers in the garage, I remember, and she got it out, and when we opened the case, we found it was a Betamax tape that we couldn't play anymore. And then so she went and looked in another drawer full of videos, and she found The Empire Strikes Back. So I watched that, and I really enjoyed it. I remember at the time what I knew of mainly were the lightsabers. I had some Star Wars. There were these Star Wars type Pog things as well that came out that you could get in Walker's Crisps. They used to do the Tazos sort of Pog things, and then they did the Star Wars ones as well when the special edition trilogy was coming out. And that's when seeing then just watching it, I really enjoyed it, and really just thought, I really like this. And then I remember going to Woolworths with my mum after showing her the toy adverts. We went and looked at, there was in Woolworths where where I used to buy most of my toys when I was a kid, because that in my local town had the best options for toys really. The first, I got one Star Wars figure, which was Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing gear. It came with his lightsaber, obviously. Any figure of Luke or any Jedi would come with his lightsaber. And then a couple of weeks later, I think then I got a Darth Vader. And then I actually borrowed the video of A New Hope, the first one. I borrowed that from my aunt, and then we watched the first one all together as a family, which was good. And then I didn't actually see all of Return of the Jedi until I got the special edition on video, trilogy on video. But because I was really getting into it, I started collecting, toys and merchandise. Like those Pogs. I had a few of like little those little things you could stick on your window, like on a wire. I think I had a Death Star, one of those. I started just collecting some sort of other little Micro Machine type toys, and also there were these like little Mighty. People remember Mighty Maxes, the thing that could open. There were sort of little pocket versions of those of the Star Wars characters, where you basically have the shape of their head or helmet, and you'd open them up, and then the little figure of the character would pop out, and some of those. And then, when my dad told me that because the films are being re-released, was because they were coming out, they were going to come back to the cinemas, and of course, the one I really wanted to go and see was Return of the Jedi, because I'd only seen bits of it around a friend's house, who had rented the original version out at the local library. But my friend kept rewinding and fast forwarding to different parts when we tried watching it. Then, when we were going to stay with my grandmother when I was about 7, and we found out that the A New Hope special edition was playing there, because depending on what cinema you went to, depending on the ones they were showing, not many cinemas were basically showing all three, because it would have been difficult with the number of screens and other films coming out, obviously, with the time scale. So my dad took me to see Star Wars Episode 4. And even though I'd seen the original version, I was I was just thoroughly entertained. And I remember, on that same day, we'd been shopping, and we went and I got a Luke Skywalker figure, the Luke Skywalker in his shirt and trousers on Dagobah when he's training with Yoda. Of course, that had his lightsaber as well. And I also got some like little Star Wars, similar to like Micro Machines, but not. And I remember I took like this little Millennium Falcon toy that I had with me. I took it with me to the cinema that night, and I remember it was just great watching it, because I realised now I've become this big Star Wars fan, and as were some of my friends as well. I mean, I don't think as many people I knew were as fussed about it at the time, because 7, it's kind of a young age really to be getting into a franchise like that. But normally I think most kids, most people of my generation started with the prequels. In my case, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, came out when I was 9 in 1999. But I was already a big fan, and then following that, I continued to collect merchandise, and I started to get Star Wars books. I just continued collecting the figures. I got an X-Wing, the first big ship I got, I remember seeing all those on the advert, because there was an advert that advertised like the ships and the figures together. The first big Star Wars toy I had was the X-Wing fighter. And then finally, when the special edition trilogy came out on video, we bought it. And of course, the first one I watched was Return of the Jedi, so I could see it properly. And I remember, I remember being thoroughly enjoying that. And then I started to watch them all just at least once a day for several, for pretty much probably nearly every day of that year. I probably watched one of them at least. And so that was how I was introduced to Star Wars and became a fan. And that same year, at the end of that same year, I actually went to my first Star Wars convention with my dad. And the reason why we went was because my dad in fact knew that David Prowse, the late David Prowse, unfortunately passed away. last week, rest his soul. But we knew he was going to be there, and Boba Fett's actor, who, thing is, personally, Boba Fett's a special character to us here in Market Harbour, because the actor Jeremy Bulloch, who I have met and has remembered me last time I went to see him, actor Jeremy Bulloch was actually born and bred here in Market Harbour. If you if you go into our local Wetherspoons here, the Sugarloaf, we have there's a big tribute to him on the wall, nice big picture of Boba Fett and some of the other roles that he did. So yeah, and I remember going into that convention room and seeing all that merchandise and just buying loads of toys and then going to meet the actors to get the autographs. That was just like a very surreal moment. But little did I know it was going to get much better, because after meeting David Prowse, Jeremy Bulloch, and also I can't remember his name, but I also met the actor who played Jabba the Hutt, basically the actor who was stood in place and said the lines, for them to digitally insert the alien character. Because people might not know, but originally, I think it was said Jabba the Hutt, George Lucas's very first idea was for him to be a human character, because in the original trilogy, in the original version of the first film, the original theatrical release, the scene where Jabba the Hutt is introduced, where Han Solo, where he goes to find Han Solo after Han's killed Greedo, and he wants to find out why Han hasn't paid him his money. That scene was originally cut, but then in the special editions, that scene was remastered and put back in the movie, and of course, you can see the original version. I think the original version of the scene that would have been in the original cut. You can see where the actor is just there and saying all the lines in English. Well, supposedly because Jabba talks in an alien language, and it just comes up with subtitles, so we know what they're saying. So we know what he's saying. But yeah, that actor was so nice to me. And actually, one of Jeremy Bulloch, Boba Fett's actor's sons, we were sat in the bar, and me and my dad sat talking to him, because he's taken a bit of a liking to me, and one of his sons then took me around the convention, took me around to look at all the stuff, and we were there for 2 full days, and we were up till about the convention. I remember very well. The convention started at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then went till 11 p.m. at night, and that was just the best experience. And I went and had a drink, obviously a Coke with Dave Prowse. I sat with Dave Prowse and Jabba the Hutt's actor, and that was just a surreal experience. And then, that was just how it was for me. I continued just watching the movies, collecting the franchise, and going to that convention was just the experience, just the best experience I think a young fan, a child fan could have. And that brings us then to when the prequels were coming out, because it was announced when the special edition trilogy had come out. That's when it was announced that George Lucas was working on was going to make these 3 new movies, this new trilogy, which they said were going to be prequels to the first trilogy. And and I remember, that was just hearing that for me was so exciting. And around the time, so when it came to 1999, and when The Phantom Menace was finally released, that was when more people of my age range started getting into it, because all this hype about this new movie coming out, and and of course I was just so excited about it. And in between, the special edition original trilogy and the prequels, I I'd had so many toys, posters, books. There was, I had Star Wars stationery. I had something. I had everything. I just had. I had, everything essential and non-essential. I had something that had Star Wars plastered on it. When it comes to the prequels, so when it comes to the time the prequels were released, I remember the first things I think I saw were, the first time I saw the trailer for The Phantom Menace was actually, I remember we were going to see A Bug's Life. When we went to see A Bug's Life at the cinema, and that's the first time I saw the first trailer for The Phantom Menace. I thought, well, that looks exciting, because that was the first time I saw Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber. And just quickly on that front, the toys I really wanted was a lightsaber, and I got one for Christmas, 1997. I got Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, the green one, his second one, and then the following Christmas I got Darth Vader's, and they're the ones that that you basically sort of point forward, you could throw forward, and the blade comes out, and it make the sounds and lit up. Me and my dad and I, we used to play with them all the time. We used to, I'd be Luke, he'd be Darth Vader and stuff like that. We'd play like that. And then, and when it came to, of course, I remember when we came out from watching A Bug's Life, but the first question I asked my dad was, did you like the Star Wars trailer? And he said, yeah, it looks all right. And then so that leads me finally to when I went to see the film, because prior to that, I actually had a toy from the movie. I had a couple of toys from the movie, special edition toys that we could pre-order early, that an offer from my dad got. I got a collector's edition STAP Stap and Battle Droid, and also I had a special edition Mace Windu figure. Obviously, I didn't know who the character was because I hadn't seen the film yet, but yeah, he's one of the new Jedi. And because obviously he doesn't use his lightsaber in The Phantom Menace, that figure came with a blue lightsaber. Of course, in Attack of the Clones, it's revealed his lightsaber is purple. But that figure came with a blue lightsaber. And then, finally, when the film was out, we didn't go to nearly after a week after it was released, but we took a friend to see it. Me and a friend, me, my mum, my dad, and a friend. I don't think we took my sister because she would have been a bit too young for it. But I remember me, my mum, my dad, and a friend. We went to see it, and I actually just thoroughly enjoyed it. I think. I loved all the special effects and all the new aliens, and I just could not wait to see Darth Maul with that double-bladed lightsaber, and thinking that lightsaber fight at the end of the film was kick-ass. Also things like the pod racing, and I was excited to see the young Anakin Skywalker as well, because I remember one of the first promotional pictures my dad showed me was the picture of little Anakin standing in the sand on Tatooine, and his shadow was of Darth Vader, which was everyone knew this was what the story was going to be about, how Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader. So so I remember, I really enjoyed it. I even kind of quite like Jar Jar Binks, but now I really don't like the character as an older fan, but I really did then. And I remember my dad saying how he wasn't impressed by it. He thought the story was crap, and I think my mum said she didn't think as badly of it as my dad did, but she said they so every adult I met and spoke to about it said that they just preferred the originals, because the originals for them are classics. Because Star Wars back in the 70s and 80s, that was a huge breakthrough for the film industry. What that film was able to introduce in terms of special effects and special effects, and that was just that first Star Wars film opened the door to the technology the film industry has today. Yeah, so and after that I remember I didn't have as many toys from the prequels. I didn't really have a lot, because by then my parents kind of stopped buying me so many toys, because I didn't used to play with toys a lot. By then I was getting more into video games. I had a PlayStation then. What I used to do was more or less hang all my toys up in my room and put them on shelves and stuff, and that's what I did with all my Star Wars toys. I had some like hanging on strings on the ceiling, like I had all the ships, like I had Millennium Falcon, I had, obviously I said I had the X-Wing fighter, I had Darth Vader's small TIE fighter from the first film, I had a regular Imperial TIE fighter, I had Boba Fett Slave One, because remember Boba Fett for me was one of my, actually was one of my favourite characters. I think also because I had that little connection with the actor Jeremy Bulloch. So, but the thing is, I wasn't often one to sit and like play with toys, and by that point, I was kind of moving on. I'd still would have liked to have had more. My parents said, if you're not going to play with them, then we won't get you them. And although what I did get was Darth Maul's lightsaber, and which I played with so much. I used to try and do all those fancy kendo type moves that Darth Maul did in the film, and then So apart from that Stappen Battle Droid and Mace Windu figure, and a couple of little things, I think I had like a Darth Maul lollipop holder, one of those lollipop holders that you put your lollipop in, and you turn it on and the lollipop spins. I had one of those and when you turn it on and suck the lollipop, Darth Maul would be waving his lights, kind of doing a articulation with his lightsaber, that kind of thing. But other than that, I didn't really have a lot of merchandise. But the thing is, I remember begging my parents to go again and again to see the film, and we went a second time about a few weeks later in the summer. A few weeks later that same summer, we took another friend to see it. Me and my mum and a friend. And I think that was when my sister came with us, because the first time I remember when we went to see A Bug's Life, and that's when I first saw the Phantom Menace trailer. That was the first time we'd ever taken my sister to the cinema, because she was like 2.5. I think she was 2.5 to 3 at the time. Yeah, but then she came with us that time, and she absolutely loved Jar Jar Binks. And then I still kept wanting to go back and see it again and again. And then over time, not long before its home video release, we used to go on Sunday mornings. We went every week for several weeks, when you could go and see movies for £1. Just at the very end of their run, you can go and see movies for a family for £1. And my sister kept wanting to go back as well, because she just loved Jar Jar Binks. And then, when the video came out, I got the video I got the Phantom Menace video for Easter that year. And I used to watch, of course, like the other ones, I just used to watch it. So my perception of it was that it was, a pretty good film at the time. It was an exciting time because of all the hype and all the new, seeing all the new merchandise in the shops and all the TV and publicity. And then, of course, it did get a very negative reception, understandably, from the older fans. They got a lot of backlash due to its bad dialogue and the not a great story. The whole this whole story with politics, the whole Republic and the Trade Federation thing. I think looking at that now as an older person, because that's not what Star Wars is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be a story of politics, but they incorporated into it for this prequel trilogy. And then so following that, for a few years, and then in between episode 1 and 2, I never stopped liking Star Wars, but I began to be sort of I'd been for several years I'd been this crazy fan who literally almost watched nothing else, who collected merchandise. But after that, I went after seeing the Star Wars film, The Phantom Menace. So after that, I actually went to a second convention and met with Jeremy Bulloch again, Boba Fett's actor, and he actually remembered me. My dad took me over and said, "Do you remember Lawrence?" And he said, "Yeah." And we actually gave him a bottle of champagne, and that was really good. Felt really good to do that, so I've given Boba Fett some champagne. And then after that, and that time I met David Prowse again, and I remember having such a good time because all the kids, we all had lightsabers, and I'm playing with all these kids there, and we were fighting, doing lightsaber fighting with cosplayers like of Darth Vader and Darth Maul, and that was really fun. We spent the whole evening pretty much playing, just fighting with lightsabers, which was good. And then, but I remember as the turn of the 21st century came, things seemed to die down a bit for me. That there was, I still would watch the films when I wanted to. I was still a fan, and my parents, my dad still bought me stuff because so many figures you could get, because literally every character you nearly see in Star Wars came out as an action figure, even if they appeared in it for literally a couple of seconds. It had some merchandise, and that was the crazy thing about Star Wars, is literally any character you see gets merchandise and is known by fans. Say Boba Fett was one of the small parts in the original trilogy, but really stood out and became popular because he was quite a mysterious character, and fans wanted to know more about him. But of course, there are other characters you could buy. You could buy literally every character you saw as a figure, which was good. But then, as time went on, because it was not till mid 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out. So things had kind of died down, and by that point, that was around the time, the early 2000s was when the whole Harry Potter thing was kicking off. The books had become this big success, and then then the first film had come out, and then you had Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, obviously the Lord of the Rings trilogy at the same time, and I was getting into that. But then I remember seeing the first trailer for, the second time I went to go and see Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was when I saw the first trailer for Star Wars Episode 2 of Attack of the Clones. And then I was really excited for it. And then my dad took me to see the film when that came out. So by that point, I really didn't collect much merchandise anymore. The only toys I had from Attack of the Clones, one that I got before I saw the film, was of Jango Fett. I think, my dad bought me that figure because he'd mistaken it for Boba Fett. Because we knew that it had been revealed that Boba Fett was going to appear, was going to be in the new film in Episode 2. But and I think my dad bought me the Jango Fett figure, mistaking it for Boba Fett. But I also had Mace Windu's lightsaber. I had the figure of the little Boba Fett as a kid. But that was about it. Those are the only toys that I had. Oh, no. Actually, no. The one other thing was I did get Count Dooku's lightsaber. With the like the handle, like the walking stick, because I really like that lightsaber, and I actually got the one that made the noises as well as lit up. So yeah, those are the only toys I had. But yeah, and when we went to see so my dad finally took me to see episode 2, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I just thought it was good, and my dad said he quite liked it, like it wasn't as bad as episode 1. And then I remember for Christmas 2002, I got the double DVD box set of episode 1 and 2, because by then is when I had a PlayStation 2, so I could watch DVDs. And yeah, and then shortly after, I think it was about a year after episode 2 came out. It was almost 2 years as when the first Star Wars, the first DVD release of the original trilogy was released, and that's when it really kicked it off for me again, because that was not long before the release of Revenge of the Sith. Okay, I'm going to speed things up a bit because I realise I've already been here for over half an hour. But yeah, so 2005 brought the release of Revenge of the Sith, which we thought was going to be the final movie for Star Wars at the time, and I say that, yeah, the same thing. New toy commercials, game commercials, all that. And then of course when I went to see the film, I went with my mum and sister, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. By this time I was 15. I was 15 when Revenge of the Sith came out, and I didn't have any merchandise at all. I didn't collect any of the action figures. I didn't have any of the ships or anything like that. No toys. I remember I had the Lego Star Wars video game, which had come out. I also had the Revenge of the Sith game for the PlayStation 2. But other than the Revenge of the Sith DVD, which I obviously got, that was all I had related to the movie. So obviously that was that was kind of, we thought that was going to be the end. It was the end of the second Star Wars era, the end of the sequel trilogy. And then for a few years I just continued watching the films when I felt like it. But then when it comes to 2007, late 2007, when the trailer for the Clone Wars movie, the theatrical Clone Wars film came out, I saw that and I thought, wow, this actually looks pretty good. What a fully CGI animated Star Wars film, and it made it clear that obviously the title and what you could see in the trailer made it clear that it was within the prequels timeline, so obviously in between episode 2 and 3. And then I went to watch that with a friend, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was actually really good. But the strange thing is, I didn't really start watching the Clone Wars series until I didn't start watching it properly until a few years ago. I bought them all on DVD and then Blu-ray, and I've watched all of Clone Wars and most of Rebels now, and they're both brilliant series. They're both fantastic series. And in some ways, I think the Clone Wars series is actually better than the prequel films, because overall the prequels were not that well received, and that's not surprising given the terrible dialogue they've all got, like, oh, I don't like sand, and all that. I don't like sand. That line. Everyone comments on that line from Hayden Christensen. But but the story of the Clone Wars, Clone Wars and Rebels is just really good. It expands on the storylines. It introduced us to a whole new cast of characters like Ahsoka Tano, and Ezra, and you had Ahsoka Tano, Asajj Ventress, which was really good. And then of course with Rebels, you had Ezra Bridger, and they brought Ahsoka back, which is good, and her new life as just a mechanic, but she, has to resort to, she resorts briefly to her Jedi ways, in that final epic battle between her and Darth Vader, before she ends up being trapped in the dimension, where at the end she's rescued by Ezra. Yeah, so both Clone Wars and Rebels are really good. I say, I've since then I have bought a couple of Clone Wars figures, but that's about it. I bought a Captain Rex figure because I really like the character. But then of course, so following Clone Wars and then Clone Wars brings us to Disney's purchase of it, which is when Rebels started. Well, I mean, now when I heard Disney had bought the rights to Star Wars and that they were going to make these new films, this trilogy of films, I was just thinking, well, all right, so they're making some new films. Well, that'll be good. I didn't know what to expect of them. I thought, well, if anything, can they be really worse than what the prequels were? So I grew up with the prequels. I can watch the prequels and enjoy them relatively, but I know for real old school Star Wars fans, they were really, really heavily criticised. But when I heard that Disney were buying, when I heard that there was going to be this new trilogy coming out, I thought, okay, well, we'll wait to see how it is. For about 2 years before The Force Awakens release, there was all this talk. We heard that the original cast were returning: Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher. We heard they'd agreed to come back, and and then when you first saw the first merchandise, like there was pictures of, obviously with Kylo Ren and Captain Phasma, the female stormtrooper with the silver armor with the breastplates, which was she was a big, even though she didn't appear so much in the film, she was used in a lot of promotion for the film, and I thought, yeah, well, it looks like it could be particularly good. So that brings us to when I did go and see The Force Awakens on release date. I managed to get there, and so I went to watch it, and I have to admit, I did actually enjoy the film. I really did enjoy it. Overall, the criticism of it was that it was basically just a retread kind of the first film. It was just kind of a repeat of the story. I thought Han Solo had kind of taken on the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi in that film as the mentor figure. Basically, is a mentor to Rey and Finn. Rey being a slave Rey being a lost girl on a desert planet, very mirrored Luke's story, and then you have the final battle at the end, to destroy the Starkiller base, which is, it was sort of just a remake of the first film, but overall, I thought I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I did think, this was good. This was better than the prequels. This was definitely better than the prequels. I think, I went to see it. I saw it in total about 3 times. I ended up going to see it about 3 times. I saw it with my mum twice. I say, actually, by then, I didn't collect figures, but I did go, and after I'd been to see the film the first time, I went to the Disney shop and bought Kylo Ren's lightsaber, because I actually really like that lightsaber with the crossguards. And then, in between then and the Blu-ray being released for The Force Awakens, I got a few things I got a few things for my birthday, but I did really start getting back into it. That's when I started watching Rebels. I think that's when Rebels was coming out, so I started watching that, and then when it came to, and then eventually I got the Blu-ray, so another Star Wars movie added to the collection. And then when it came 2 years later, when we saw the trailer for Rogue One, we'd heard there was going to be this anthology film, but the first trailer for Rogue One was released very early in 2017, even though it was going to be coming out, they were going to have a 6-year run for December releases. I thought, well, this looks good because this is clearly, takes place within the original Star Wars timeline, because it's the story that directly leads into Episode 4: A New Hope, and about the construction of the Death Star, and how they got the plans to Princess Leia and the rebels. And so following that, and then when it finally got round to December of that year, I remember going to see it several times. I think I saw that about 3 times as well. And that was actually really good. I think Rogue One is probably the best film to come out from Disney so far. It's the best Star Wars movie. And then, following that, I think that year I bought myself the BB-8 that runs. I got myself the BB-8 that can run around, can roll around on its own, and can respond to you when you clap your hands and stuff. I really liked that, so I thought I gave in and bought one of those. I've also got the R2-D2 that does that as well. Okay. And then it comes to The Last Jedi. Now, I will admit, my feelings on The Last Jedi were very mixed. But I didn't think it was as bad as a lot of people thought it was. I did think it's the weakest of the new trilogy. There's no doubt in my mind, definitely it's the weakest one. I didn't think it was as bad, but I did think it was a fairly big letdown, considering I thought that The Force Awakens was actually pretty good. But I did think, it was quite a letdown. The story wasn't strong. And I think that all the things just dragged on a bit too much in The Last Jedi. That was the problem I had with it. It wasn't, it just wasn't thoroughly entertaining. But I still could watch it. I'd still watch it and I'd still enjoy it. Yeah, I do own it. And then for Solo, I thought, Solo was, so Rogue One, and then, brings us to Solo after The Last Jedi, Solo was, I thought it was good. It wasn't as good as Rogue One. It was okay, but I did like it because it was interesting to see, Han Solo as a younger character and how he became the smuggler and gambler that we know him to be, and his, how he meeting with Lando and their relationship, and how Han Solo became the Millennium Falcon's captain. I really enjoyed that, and plus I loved seeing the connection with Star Wars Rebels at the end of it, how it ties in, when you see Darth Maul with his cybernetic legs, because I'd already watched, obviously, because I'd watched Clone Wars, I knew, and Rebels, I knew that Darth Maul was back in the franchise, but it's clever how they tied it in. So, and then finally that brings us to Episode 9, and I'd say I actually I do like Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I think on the whole, some said it was a complete load of crap. But I say I actually did enjoy it. I liked how they brought Palpatine back, because even though a lot of people disagreed with it, I thought the way that was handled was good. It made sense that he'd transferred his mind into clones of himself so he could be reborn, and how he planned to basically have the Sith return again, and then have a new empire be completely reborn from the ashes of the First Order. And I will admit, as I know Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, I know they've said they weren't happy about how their characters were portrayed. I will admit that the end storyline for them wasn't good, and there's another kind of retread thing. Kylo Ren redeems himself. He turns to the good side, and then he sacrifices himself to destroy Palpatine. So it's another retread of Anakin's redemption. And then Rey goes to Tatooine, and she buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers, and constructs her own, the yellow lightsaber, and then she takes the Skywalker name. I will admit, that was not a good finale for those characters. But I say I did enjoy the film, and I bought Luke's/Rey's lightsaber, the same the version that makes the sound and lights up from the Disney shop. Okay, so that brings us now to The Mandalorian, I'm just gonna quit because I've been here now for over 45 minutes, but I'm gonna now just start talking about The Mandalorian because that's what this brings us to. Well, I must say, I think The Mandalorian is the best thing to come out of Disney's purchase. And so many others have said that. Everyone I'm talking to about it has said it. That The Mandalorian is a great series. It's the first live-action Star Wars series. Series 1 was an excellent setup for Mando's character and Grogu, as he's now known, the Baby Yoda. The story is just so well laid out about him coming into about this creature of Yoda's species coming into Mando's care, and he's got his quest to find the right Jedi to train him, and and the characters. And the characters and the story are just so well set up in Series 1. It didn't leave anything dragging, and it's been a thoroughly entertaining series through both seasons so far. It's as it is nearly as tomorrow is Friday, there will be a new episode on Disney Plus tomorrow, which I'll be looking forward to watching. But as I say, season 1 was absolutely fantastic. We saw the hints of where things are now happening in season 2. As I say, it's just a fantastic series, and what I really like about The Mandalorian is it does feel like old school Star Wars. It feels like a real continuation to from Return of the Jedi. What old school fans would want, they want to see what happens next. I mean, you've got all this expanded universe stuff. The now legends, what used to be canon prior to Disney's purchase. A lot of old school fans and new fans as well know about that stuff. But if you wanted an on-screen story of what happens next, this is a great. This is just the way to do it. This series, and we from Clone Wars and all the books, both in Legends and canon that talked about the Mandalorians and explained about the Mandalorian warriors, and now we have a series based on them. Dave Filoni has done a phenomenal job as producer with this series. He's done a fantastic job. Just brilliant. And season 2, I mean, come on, it has been thoroughly entertaining. I'm eagerly just looking forward to each episode. I liked that they brought, the character who had Boba Fett's armor was already a character in the books, and the live action Ahsoka Tano. I mean, yeah, we all knew about that. When it said that Rosario Dawson had been cast as Ahsoka Tano, and how they were going to, bring her in. But to see a live action portrayal of Ahsoka Tano is what I've wanted to see since watching Clone Wars. To be honest, I wondered what she'd be like in live action, and Rosario Dawson's portrayal is just. She brings a real sense. I know that she was a huge fan of the character before she'd been cast, and that's what really helps. She really knew the character, so she plays it really well. Her chemistry with Mando is just fantastic on screen. So the chemistry with all the cast is brilliant, and of course now the latest big reveal is we finally know that Boba Fett definitely in canon did survive the Sarlacc pit, because he's now back, and he's portrayed now by Tamura Morrison, and so yeah, we know since the Mando left Tatooine with Boba Fett's after winning it, he's been tracking him, and after a confrontation, and now a team up to save Baby Yoda. Boba Fett's required his armor, and now they're off to save Baby Yoda from So I'm just really looking forward to it. I loved seeing the character. I don't remember the character's name. I haven't watched all of Rebels. I've watched most of it, but I recognise the dark saber. I loved seeing that, so I'm desperate just to see where this goes. Okay, yes. So that's brings me to the end of it, really. Am I optimistic about Star Wars' future? Well, if Disney keep going in the direction they're going with what they're doing with The Mandalorian, I'd be more optimistic than I have been prior to The Mandalorian. I know, I'm looking forward to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series with the return of Ewan McGregor. There's talks of a Boba Fett standalone series, and all, the rumoured characters we're yet to see return, like possibly Mace Windu, possibly Ezra Bridger. So Ezra could make his live-action debut as well. The live-action Sabine, that'd be great. So that's my story and experience as a Star Wars fan. So I'll quickly give a shout out to my friend Nolsey, and the video that I'm doing this sort of response to. His video is on TF Nolsey. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I know that this video is long, but I do hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon. Bye.